Okay, we'll call the Public Works and Planning Committee in order. Call the roll.
Commissioner Dodd?
Here.
Commissioner Cush?
Here.
Commissioner Piercy?
Here.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yeah.
Commissioner Stevens?
Here.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Here. Okay, High Road Department's no report tonight, building code. Huh? Okay, approve minute.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, Bill.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening, Bob. Where are we going to start?
I'm going to start with building permits. So building permits, we issued a total of 328-ish building permits this month, 56 of which were single-family dwelling. For a total revenue of $101,707,000.
So that's down a little bit from July last year as far as single family goes.
Single-family,
much,
yes,
yeah.
it is. So we've just been kind of clipping along this
Yeah.
year.
But we're up for the year so far about almost 80 single family permits.
Oh, total?
Yeah, from this time last year, or total budget year. 663 last year to 739 this year.
739 was total last year. That was
Yeah.
for the entire year. So we're at 663 right now. We've got the month of June to go. So
Yeah.
we'll probably come
Yeah.
in right at
Right at the same.
Right at the same, yeah. Development tax. We had a large apartment complex in Murfreesboro. This is at the city limits of Murfreesboro this month. So our development tax is $1,065,000 even.
Do you remember which one that complex was? Is that the one on Casey Lane?
It's off of Veterans Parkway.
Veterans, okay.
Yes. We were just talking about it, and I cannot remember the name of it. It's between Veterans and Highway 96 and 840 on Veterans Parkway. And for zoning, we had a total of 188 inspections this month.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Yeah.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanya.
Any.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Hello, gentlemen.
How are you doing today? First thing to discuss on the agenda is the available lot inventory. Mike's going to pass out a budget amendment we'll discuss here in a little bit. This one, there's one on your iPad. This one is not, but we'll discuss it here in just a moment or two. The available lot inventory as it stands right now, as of the end of May, is 665 lots on the ground. In other words, recorded lots that could have building permits pulled at this point. That's down, I'm sorry, yeah, well, up, I guess, a little bit from April, which was 614, but you can see it's fairly comparable to what it was last year at this time. We had couple larger sections of subdivisions be recorded this past month. So that's the reason why you're seeing that number go up just a little bit. Again, we're still in that 600, 700 lot window we've been under for about the last 2 years. The inventory of those subdivision plat lots that haven't been recorded yet went down a little bit. Actually, it was 3,800 last month. This month is 3,738. So when one goes up, the other one goes down is typically what you see, because if when a section is recorded, it moves off of the list of not recorded, moves on to the other list of available lots. So it's kind of a shifting right there. So that's just to give you an idea of where we are. We're still seeing pretty consistent activity in the planning and engineering department. I know Mike's got a lot of construction drawings that are still kind of trickling in, but for the most part, the activity really has slowed down. But I'd say it's steady for the most part. So if there's no other questions on that, we'll jump into the rezoning report. 2 items for your consideration today. The first is for property located at 213 Double Springs Road. This is by the Good Shepherd Children's Home. Information provided by the applicant indicates they're looking to purchase some additional land in the county to build a new facility to do foster care for small children and that type of work. So they're looking for a larger facility. So they own some land right now that isn't developed really for much of anything, and they're looking to sell that property where it is right now on Double Springs Road, and they own some other property around it as well. So what they're doing is, since this has frontage along John Brack Highway, they're just asking for this to be zoned commercial general, consistent with some of the other properties we've seen go commercial in this area. Really, this was a fairly straightforward application. There wasn't just a whole lot of discussion on this item. The commission did have some questions about the other properties that the applicant owns in the area, but following the public hearing, which I don't think anybody spoke at beyond the applicant, the planning commission did vote to recommend approval by a unanimous vote. The other application that we'll be considering next week is for property located along Rucker Road. This is by Landquester LLC, Larry Gilliland representing them. The applicant is proposing, and I'll talk a little bit about the subdivision itself. The copy of the pattern book is on your iPads if you'd like to take a look at that. It's called Rucker Landing. When it was submitted, and at the public hearing, the first public hearing we had was for a 246 lot residential subdivision on the property, which would be 239 standard lots, along with 7 estate lots that front Rucker Road. The overall density was about 2.5 units per acre. Minimum lot size was 7,200 square feet. There were 7 estate lots as shown, which were larger, again, fronting on Rucker Road. Estate lot homes along Rucker would be a minimum of 2,400 square feet, while standard lot homes would be a minimum of 1,600 square feet. These would all be for purchase, and they also had an amenities plan, playground, open space, those kind of things. There was also a minimum brick masonry requirement for the estate lots, but again, all that information can be found on the pattern book. There was a lot of discussion at this particular public meeting. There were a couple of people that did come and speak, but there were a lot of questions regarding the traffic improvements. The applicant did a traffic study prior to submittal, which identified some improvements to Rucker Road, as well as some additional improvements to the intersection of Rucker Road and Shelbyville Highway 231. There's kind of several moving pieces out in this area right now, along with this development, which is moving through the process right now. You also have Davenport Station, which is under development right across, and they're also going to have some responsibility for installing some traffic improvements, traffic signal at that intersection, probably sooner rather than later. It's hard to put a time frame on it now, but they're moving along pretty rapidly out there. And I think, Mike, you said you just received the section 4, which is where, and that was the section that traffic signal was supposed to be actually installed. So during the public hearing, there was some discussion regarding amenities in the subdivision, whether or not there were sidewalks. There's going to be an HOA governing the lots in the subdivision, and as well as the traffic improvements. That application was actually deferred at the May 14th meeting, and then was brought back to the Planning Commission at the May 29th meeting for further discussion. The applicant did make some changes. The changes that they made actually ended up losing just about 9 lots or so. The total lot yield now, which was 246, is down to 237, and they added a little bit more detail in the amenities area. They added sidewalks throughout the subdivision, I think on one side, if I remember correctly, and also added some additional parking areas for those amenity areas. So they ended up losing about 9 lots. They also placed some verbiage in the pattern book regarding the traffic improvements, committing to those improvements that were recommended in the traffic study, and again adding those, or rather the HOA requirement as well. So after that discussion at the May 29th meeting, the Planning Commission recommended approval by a unanimous vote once again. So those are the 2 zoning applications we have, and if you have questions on those, I'd be happy to answer them.
Doug, I think there was they were waiting on a CUD letter in regards to some think, on the cul-de-sacs maybe?
Well, yeah, there was, yeah, that's correct. There was some discussion as well, and they'll have to make sure this is worked out with CUD as far as the front setback, especially like you said, in the
Yeah.
cul-de-sac lots regarding where the sidewalk was going to be, if there was enough room for the step tanks and the
So
easements connections.
they're still in negotiation?
Right, I haven't seen anything
Okay.
come through my
All right.
office. Now, that being said, I've been off for a couple days,
I
so
got
I
you.
hadn't seen it come through, but I'm pretty confident that should be worked out prior to next week's meeting.
I would make a motion to approve this report.
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
A couple budget amendments. The one that's on your iPad, I'll discuss real quick. This is just moving some money around inside our budget. You'll see we're taking a little bit of money out of our in-service, which is our training line item, and we're moving it to gasoline and data processing equipment. The gasoline, of course, prices of gas have gone up steadily over the last several months. So, and of course, our inspectors are doing more and more work. So we just need a little additional funds to cover the gas bill. Under data processing equipment, some extra money is being shifted over there for a new computer for the county engineer. Some of the software that he currently runs, he just needs a little more horsepower in the engine than he's got right now.
Our GIS system is an upgrade that requires a faster processor. And the computers we have are several years old and they won't handle the upgrade. So we're asking that we can move some money around to buy some new computers.
So you're asking for $2,170, or $2,170? Yeah.
For that one, right, total decrease
Yeah.
is 2870, but again, this
Right.
is just shifting, this isn't new money.
Yeah, it's just
shifting money
swapping,
around, right.
moving the puddle.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Motion to approve. Second.
The second,
I think we need to move on that.
oh, I'm
first.
sorry.
Do you want to do the budget amendments separately or together?
They're both such of a matter of nature, you could take them both in one vote, I think.
Do you want to take them together or separately?
Together's fine with
Yeah,
me.
it's fine.
Or they
Whatever's
both
easy
just
for you.
transferring money from one pot to
Separate's
another?
fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I mean,
Right.
together or separate? it doesn't matter.
Well, we've already got a motion and a
Yeah,
second,
that's
so
all.
let's
Okay.
just go ahead and
Okay.
say yea or nay.
Doesn't matter. His budget, his amendment's out of a different, that's out of stormwater, not planning engineering and all that.
So I guess we probably do need to
Yeah.
say it
This is the
separate.
planning and engineering.
Correct.
For
Yeah. Yeah.
2870. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Kush?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Okay, and likewise, and I apologize, the second budget transfer, we thought was brought to the iPads with planning engineering, but it was not, so I handed out a copy of this. This one, we're doing okay on gasoline, so for stormwater, we're just needing to move some money out of in-service training and office supplies to move into data processing to purchase 2 computers, one for our stormwater engineer, one for our stormwater inspector. They both use the GIS system that had the required upgrade, and they have older computers that need this newer, higher, faster processor. So that's what we're proposing here, is just to move that around to purchase the 2 computers.
Okay. And for the record, that's just $2,600.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir, $2,600.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Made and seconded. On the roll.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Kush?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
ma'am.
Mr. Manville.
Last on the list, but number 1 in our heart.
There you go. I like being last. It'd be better to be last if the meeting started at 6.
Yeah, that's right.
First thing we always start with is the landfill report. You can see the revenues are a little bit down from what they were, and the free disposal is actually down from what it was too. To help explain why that is most people's used up their 1 ton. So what they're bringing now, they're actually paying for. And then we've still got environmental issues and things that we're dealing with out there, but it's taking in the brush and the tires and no construction demolition stuff. Any questions on the landfill?
So you are still taking brush?
Yes. All that tonnage in there is all the brush. That's all we're taking. We don't report the tires to y'all, that's the pass-through. I think we talked about that a little bit last month. We're going to the convenience center report.
No.
Centers have been really busy. Of course, school's out. Normally, right after Christmas, we slow down till mid-May. We never slowed down. So it's stayed extremely busy. We're working extra hours with everybody, just trying to keep caught up. And the last 2 Saturdays, I've actually come in and live dispatch just to, if a center's going to have to not be able to have enough open tops, things like that, I didn't want the drivers to have to take the blame for that. I'd do that myself. This past Saturday, we had 5 centers that ran out of open top space an hour before, somewhere from an hour to 15 minutes before closing time. And it's, of course, it's the busier centers. But the holiday kind of messed us up. Normally, we get a good start on Monday while they're closed to get everything ready. We didn't have Monday to work, so that put us behind. So
You had to turn people away?
turn them away and ask them to go somewhere else. But it's just a larger volume than we're accustomed to. We're still shorthanded on drivers. Luckily, I had one come see me today, talk to him a little bit. He seems to be interested. He picked up an application. And as all of them have been doing, well, I'll bring it back tomorrow. Tomorrow hasn't come for those people, so maybe it will for this one. He's new to the neighborhood. He just moved here from Cincinnati, I believe where he said it was. Got here Sunday. It still has to go back this week and get the rest of his stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's, if we can't find some drivers, we're going to have some issues with open tops not being available late in the afternoon on a Saturday or Sunday. Well, they're not available on Sunday anyway, but on Saturday. The big focus Saturday was trying to start out getting what was already called in. And we got almost all of that done, and then keeping the trash compactors available.
Is it a wage issue? Or just
It's
people
a
don't?
little bit of a wage issue, but there's a high demand for drivers.
Yeah.
There's more driver jobs than there are drivers.
That's true.
And the gentleman that came to see me today had already been, he moved into Laverne, he'd already been there and talked to somebody that paid more than we did, but no benefits. So the county does have benefits that a lot of the other companies are not offering. So.
We've got in the budget a bit of an increase for those drivers to try to help that a little bit more.
Any other questions on that? If not, I've got a couple of budget amendments.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve this report.
Second.
Should have 2 budget amendments on your
Let's
iPad.
vote for this, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Should be the first budget amendment on your iPad is to moving funds within our budget. When school gets out, 2 weeks before school's out and 2 weeks after school's out is when they throw all their stuff away. So our recycle volume tripled in each of those weeks. Of course, we have to pay to dispose of that. So we're asking for a $50,000 budget amendment to pay for to have plenty of money to pay for the month of May, which we haven't gotten that bill yet, in the month of June, which we'll have.
To pay to dispose of recycled material
Glass and plastic and single stream.
instead of take it to the dump.
our does the contract say that you can't take any recyclables to,
We can.
okay?
We can. The commodity market is way down right now.
Right.
The China
And that's-
wall created part of that, and
Yeah.
a lot of it is self-inflicted by sending a lot of trash over there to begin with.
Right.
But the market will rebound,
Yeah.
and it always has. And we don't have everybody in the habit of recycling, but we have a lot, and we don't want to break that habit because it'd be very difficult to start it back.
Right. I'm actually finally starting to see national coverage on the recycling issue, and that there's no market for it right now.
Right. And there's a lot of entities, especially government entities, that are stop collecting certain items that are not profitable. And we could do that, but if we do that, then we're going to create a problem for ourselves in the future when we actually need them to continue doing that.
Yeah. Well, this is a double-edged sword. Fiscally, I hate to spend $50,000 to house or take care of the recycling that is not of market value right now. But on the other hand, morally, I cannot take recyclable material and landfill it. That just goes against the grain. So I'm going to have to make a motion to approve that request.
Second. Do we get some money back though when we take the recyclable materials up there?
Not at this location. All this is going to Waste Management in Nashville, and they have 2 locations. Glass goes up near Rivergate Mall, and the other one goes to River Hills Drive. So we're not getting any rebate for anything. And then if it's a contaminated load, which some of them are, we get charged extra for those.
What does Waste Management do?
They recycle as much of it as they can, and the contamination they have to get rid of, haul it to the landfill.
Is this, tell me again the source of most of this? This is from schools, you said?
Some of it's from the schools, and then the rest of it is from the recycle center operations.
Okay, so let me ask you, Mac. A month from now, will we have this same kind of issue?
No, we've got more than enough money to cover it. The 50,000 is.
You'll still have to pay to get rid of this
Oh,
glass
yes,
and plastic.
yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Until the recyclable market rebounds, we're left with a glut of recyclables that has no market value.
Right.
That nobody's taking. And the choice is to landfill it, or you pay real tax dollars.
But they're really not any tax dollars here.
Well,
Real revenue.
real revenue,
Real
yeah.
county revenue.
Yeah, okay.
And we've got a meeting the 19th with a different recycling company that's not been in this area, but they're planning on being in this area. So, and I sent him, I keep track of all that, and we have to send it to the state. So I sent him the sheet that here's all the commodities and the tonnage for each of those commodities for calendar year 2017. So he can, when they sit down at the meeting, they would have an idea of what volume that we have.
Yeah.
When all in one closed down, we started going to Waste Management. They were shocked at how much stuff we brought. We started Monday morning with 134 loads to haul. And of those 134 loads, 21 of them was plastic and glass.
Where's it at now?
Most all of it got hauled between Monday and today. I think there's 3 loads we haven't got to yet.
Where's it at? Where's the recyclable trash at now, today? Has it already been taken to
Yes.
facilities?
Yes. There's 3 loads we didn't dispatch with us in that time to get those.
So this is a bill owed?
It will be owed, yes.
Have any choice?
I question I'm sorry, I think it's another topic. I have something to say after the vote, though. Call for the question.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Kush?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Serena?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
I voted yes because it's a bill due, like you brought up. But is it immoral to landfill it if we're distributing it at a cost? You keep the recycling coming, don't change the citizens' behaviors, but do we make the best fiscal decision and landfill it until the market changes?
If we choose to do that, I think we need to let the residents know what's going to happen. I don't think we need to give them the impression that we're recycling it when we're actually not. Another option may be, instead of dumping those loads in the landfills, letting them sit full, and then they'll have to trash. That way they know it's getting trashed.
We'll lose them then, but
Right.
I just wonder if we consider a notice. Landfills or recycling's full, we're gonna dispose of it for a month.
I really hope we can not do that yet.
I agree, and I've always agreed with Mr.
Right.
Kush. But when you start thinking, real revenue dollars going down the pipe.
All the education we've tried.
I think the PR damage is more than
would be irrecoverable.
Yeah.
Do we know what Republic's doing with it, or whoever they're called?
Waste management.
Waste management?
We're trying to get our residents to stop putting things in bags. You can bring it in a bag, but just empty it out and take the bag back with you or throw it in the trash. Now, some of those that are in bags, they don't even open the bag as it goes. That's called contamination that is thrown away. The reason they don't want to fool with the bags is it goes through the belts and all that kind of stuff, and it just gets wrapped up. It's a problem.
Machinery.
How much glass is successfully being recycled, or is it mostly contaminated?
Their glass it is contaminated, and contamination can be a lot of things. If you buy a 6-pack carton of beer and you drink those 6 beers and you drop the little cap back down in there and you put the bottles back in the carton and then put the carton in the glass, then that's contamination. All 3 of those items are recyclable. They just have to be separated. Then in a single stream program, you're okay, but just the glass program, you're not.
What about clear versus colored,
We
or are your
we
dumpsters being contaminated by
About both.
undisciplined?
Right. Years ago, our containers were 3 segments. One for clear, one for brown, one for green. And blue would go with green. And then the industry has changed to where they want clear separated and then the colors together. And right now, they don't care if it's separated or not. Well, that's going to change in the future, so we keep ours separated, clear and colored.
Okay, but all colors can go together.
And that glass is going to a company in Jackson, and they use it to grind it down and use it for sandblasting sand. And I have spoken with the guy and sent him pictures of our loads and told him that we had some contamination, and he looked at our pictures and he said, that's not contamination in our world, because it's not as much as what they're accustomed to. But the logistics of getting it all the way to Jackson. Now, if we had a way to stockpile it somewhere, crush it, load a tractor trailer, that would make a little more sense. But just to haul our loads, it doesn't make sense to do that.
Yeah, if you could crush it, you could almost stockpile it until the market rebounded a little bit, if you had the yard specs.
Well, what I wanted to do, and I talked to T-Dec about it, is acquire one of these old quarries, a dry quarry, and get a glass crusher and set it at the top of the quarry, dump the glass in it, crush it up, and just put it over in the quarry. And they said, well, what are you going to do with it then? I said, we're going to store it until it has a value. What if it doesn't have a value? I said, I guess we'll cover it up. No, you can't do that. You can store a recycled commodity for a year, and after a year, it's considered disposal. So then it has to be taken care of as a disposal item.
Well, this kind of discussion adds to the issue and the problem that this committee, and hopefully all of us will be back here in September after the election, that we have a major task ahead of us in solid waste. And that there's going to be lots of studying and some hard decisions that will have to be made.
I
And
agree.
we're going to need some help. We're going to need some help.
And no matter what we do, it's going to cost some more money, more than we're accustomed to.
Yeah.
Y'all ready for the next amendment? We've been shorthanded on drivers, and we actually have two out this week. One had already scheduled vacation, another one had an injury at home, so he's gonna be out, had surgery yesterday. So we need to do a $25,000 budget amendment. We're taking the money out of the driver's line item. There's the money in there because of the vacant positions, and moving it into the overtime line item. If you remember, we did a $30,000 adjustment just a couple of months ago. But this money, again, is probably more than we're gonna need. I hope it is, but I want to put more than enough in there to where we don't have to try to come back, because there's no coming back before the budget year's over.
What is overtime pay? Time and a half?
Well, I move that we approve the budget request for the overtime.
I'll second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Kush?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Serena?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
That's all I have, unless y'all have some more questions.
You've come to us for leachate removal a couple of times this year, or a few times perhaps. I'm not
Right.
sure, 50,000 a ton. How's that going?
We're pretty confident we got enough money to finish the year with. We're still pumping and hauling leachate, but when we did that budget amendment, we did the calculations of what we were at the time, and then we added a little bit to it just for contingency. So right now, and Kathy's out, so I've been paying the bills. So I think we're in good shape on leachate for the end of this budget year. Got to pick on the mayor a little bit. He took some money out of leachate for next year, but that's okay.
We've got the closed C&D landfill just about properly covered, which should help us a little, hopefully.
All right, Mac, let me ask you a question. Because we're getting towards the end of election, our cycle. We will certainly have a new mayor come August. We will have some new commissioners come August. The solid waste committee or the consultant that we have hired, when do we pick that discussion back up, and when do we educate the new commissioners on where we are and what needs to be done?
I just finished doing a different draft. They drafted what they wanted to do, and then the mayor had some thoughts, and I just sent it back to them this afternoon, literally this afternoon, to continue. What we're looking for them to do is to figure out, the way the mayor phrased it, and I thought it was a good phrasing, is assume that the management style is in place and assume that the funding is in place. Now, so you just kind of take those off the table, and what steps, what's the business plan to get us where we need to be 5 years from today.
Right.
And then, that should be able to be continued. So that's kind of the next step is what they're working on. The due date for that is hopefully right before the election,
Okay.
to where it's not going to be released during the election time.
Right.
But that way the new elected personnel
Mhm.
then would have an opportunity to have that shared with them and start the discussions, possibly the MOUs between the cities and us and all that kind of stuff.
Right, okay. And then we'll have to have a commitment from those cities and city leaders that they're in or they're out.
Right.
Right.
That's after we get the business plan developed.
Yeah.
And everyone agrees, and we agree, and the city of Murfreesboro agrees with it. Then you'll talk about how you're going to potentially execute the plan. But we're going to have the model developed.
Okay.
And that way some of you had a little heartburn with the solid waste authority. That's not part of it. That would be a decision to be made later after the business plan.
Okay. Will the consultant will he still be under contract with us? Or do we still have monies in the pool for him to help us guide in that direction?
Yes,
Or
we did an extension agreement between us and the city of Murfreesboro with the consultants. and do not exceed $200,000. And if you remember, when we brought that forward, each task, before they start the task, here's what we're going to do and here's what we're going to charge.
Yeah.
And that's what we're in the process of now. They've already sent, here's what we think we need to do, here's what we want to charge, and then we're changing it, here's what we think we want. And what we're asking for, we're hoping is going to be a little less money. The solid waste authority
We're not
part
talking
of
about
it's going to be.
spending nearly the whole 200. This is
Right,
just
no.
phase one
Yeah.
of this last task that this $200,000 is set aside for. So I don't know what they're going to work out, but maybe a fourth of it we will spend in the next 10 to 12 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Y'all have a good evening.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike.
Next meeting be scheduled August 7th.
August 7th.
Now, 19th.
Well, I hope we're all here.
Well, you'll be here until August the 31st.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Lame duck or not?
Physically, maybe not mentally, yeah.
September's when we gonna miss you.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, it'd be a big